up, y'all? It's Bernadette Joy, and I'm back here for another episode. This one is more business focused than it is personal finance focused because once you actually get your budget done and you figure out all your expenses and you have cut everything that's necessary, you have no choice but to grow your income. So we are here with my new friend, Tiffany, and she is, I'm going to say, a branding boss, and she's going to tell us some really helpful tips if you are someone who's looking to grow your income and maybe feeling a little bit stuck right now. So welcome, Tiffany. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Bernadette.
So we met at PodFest because she had the most fabulous hat. I still won't forget it. She had the most fabulous hat. And we got to chatting in the hallway, and it turns out we have a lot in common. And I've been following her journey since we met back in January. And so for those of you who may not have met her before or know who she is, can you describe a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a company called Your Legacy Brand where we help entrepreneurs really create just that, their legacy brand, and really help them make their message a movement. So I spent over 15 years in the corporate world, like so many of us do, working with brands like Burt's Bees, Stoli Vodka, Chase Bank, Adidas, and I was a creative director in that past life. And when I came on the scene and realized, oh, I'm actually meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's why I was always moving way too fast for everybody else in corporate, I noticed that a lot of people are really struggling, and it's because they don't have what I call a brand operating system. And so that's really the foundation of everything that I teach now.
Okay, so this is a very hot topic for me because I get very frustrated in the business world. Even though I am a business coach for many other people, a lot of people assume that I just focus on the finance side of it, but I actually help people with branding sometimes too. And a lot of entrepreneurs look at branding as like colors and fonts.
Yes,
and
you're speaking my language already.
I know. That's why I was like, you're the perfect person to have this conversation with. So let's just like start from the basics. Because I feel like people assume when we say, oh, building a brand, that we're talking about the same thing. But I've learned the hard way that we're not all talking about the same thing. So when you say a brand, what is your definition of a brand?
A brand is really the entire ecosystem of your business. So yes, it includes logos, colors, fonts, but that's really like the icing on the cake, right? So if you think about the analogy of an iceberg, which is used for a lot of different things, but like what's above, what's visible above the water is that visual brand, but really everything else underneath of it, what I call the brand operating system, is key. So what is your messaging? What is your tagline? What are your titles? Is your stack of offers? How does your website show up? What is your customer journey? Because all of that equates into the ecosystem. And really, when we're looking at building a brand, we want it to be sellable in the long term. And that's what I love talking to someone like you who's like into investing in finances. So many people just think of, oh, I'm going to do this offer, I'm going to do this offer. But when you create an ecosystem, it's actually sellable in the future, right? You're creating an asset out of your business and your brand. So the brand, from my perspective, is everything. And if your marketing's not working, if you're not making money, it's typically because you haven't really solidified your brand.
Okay, so let's discuss this because a lot of folks who listen to this podcast may want to build the brand but don't have Adidas money, right? What are some misconceptions that people have in terms of where to take more time, energy, and money to invest in? So I'll give you like a common example. This is one of my biggest gripes right now is I have several clients who came to me who have thrown like thousands of dollars at a website, but they didn't have a brand, meaning they didn't have anything. They didn't have an offer. They didn't have a ideal client. They were just like, oh, I bought a domain name because it like sounded really cute. And then they paid like a website designer to make a website. And I genuinely asked them like, but what are you putting on the website? You don't even have anything to sell. What are some misconceptions that you have seen from people that have come through your programs and stuff of what they think a brand is and where they should actually invest the resources?
Yeah, I 100% just to start agree with everything you're saying because so many people come to me saying, I need a website or I need a new logo. If I get my logo right, then I'll make the money. And I'm like, no, I'm probably the only brand expert that will say your visuals, yes, they matter, especially when you want to make your message a movement, but don't worry about that first. The first thing you really need to think about is your messaging, and you need to get clarity around who you are, what you're doing, what your ideal clients are, and all of those things. And so I have people who come into like my signature program, and that's like building the foundations, and they're usually newer in business, or people who want to rebrand and they're a little further along. And then I have one-on-one clients that obviously we do whole rebrands, right? And so you can, without spending a ton, invest and get those things in place, get the foundation in place. But that's absolutely the first place to start, because like you're saying, if you're trying to build something, and also it's not build it and they will come either. It's not like the Field of Dreams, the movie. That's the other misconception, is I'm going to build this website and then all these people are going to show up and buy it, or I'm going to build the course and then all these people are going to show up. I really feel like getting the foundation in and then putting the messaging out there and testing it and just putting a beta program up first, getting money in the door is the first piece. And then you can refine, because a brand is a living, breathing entity. It's actually something that you can grow and evolve into, and it's not a static thing. And so really what I want people to think about is, what are the first steps that I take, and then go make a lot of money, and then you can evolve and grow with the brand, right? And then you can get this beautiful website, and then you can invest the thousands of dollars into a photo shoot, right? Like you do need something, and maybe you need a landing page, but those things, I 100% agree with you, come down the road.
I feel seen and heard today. I say this because I'm now 10 years into being an entrepreneur, and this is the first year that I'm paying anyone to even do a logo for me. I say that in the sense of my business is about to cross over $1 million of revenue, and I've been able to get this far without some of those like visual elements, because from what I've been told, a lot of my messaging is very like clear. Like even though like I don't have a pretty logo, people know, oh, Bernadette, like her brand is, you don't stay in debt for the rest of your life. Like they know certain things. So would you be able to like share maybe a success story or a favorite client, you can name names or not, whatever you're more comfortable with, that you feel like had that issue that we're talking about? They thought the brand was this, they thought that this is what they needed, and then in actuality, what they needed was messaging or clarity, or and then what was the result of the work that they did with you?
Yeah, gosh, I have so many examples.
Maybe a female client.
Yeah. One of my favorite clients and probably most successful clients is a woman named Selina Soo, and she had somewhat of an established brand when we met, but she was shifting. She wanted to be more of a nomad, I guess you could say. So she was living in different places. So not only was her branding and her messaging kind of all focused around New York, it was really dark, it was really black. That's the visual piece. But most of all, the messaging wasn't really locked in. She was so focused on pretty photo shoots, and she would say this alongside with me. That's obviously why she came to me too. She had a wonderful business. She was making money, and she knew it was supposed to be so much more. So her flagship offer was impacting millions, and she was a publicity expert. She helped people get featured in different places, and she was doing the work, but it was mostly one-on-one. She had this program and she really wanted it to impact millions. And so once we got clear on the messaging, and the biggest thing that we did together was created a signature framework. So we really looked at what were the pillars in her brand and created like the pillars and the signature framework that helped her really stand out as a thought leader, like her signature framework. Because before, she was talking about things just like everyone else was. And so she was getting clients, but she wasn't really standing out as what I call a category of one brand. She wasn't making her message a movement. And so when we did the work, we really, yes, we shifted the visuals, but we also, because she moved to Puerto Rico, was her home base. So it went from like black to Puerto Rico. But the main thing we did was get focused on that core brand foundation, the operating system, the signature framework, and how she was showing up, really positioning her as a thought leader. And that really helped take her off. And the beauty of that is now she's sunsetting that a little bit, and she's coming out with her new book, Rich Relationships, which is a slightly different angle. But because she has that brand foundation that she invested in, there's a few tweaks. Like I said earlier, the brand is a living, breathing entity. But once you have the foundation done, it's okay. The ideal client, her vision, her values, her voice, that's all still the same. It's just really a little bit of what she's offering. So we're going back in and tweaking that messaging slightly, but she can still keep moving without having to like completely reinvent the wheel. So she's one of my favorite stories because I've been with her behind the scenes, like helping her with her launches and the strategy and things like that for a long time now. And so it's really cool to see that evolution and how like she went from a solid brand into like multi-millions and beyond.
I love that. And also it stuck out to me, the rich relationships. I'm like, that's such a great it's easy to remember. Part of where I do think people spend a little bit too much time is having things that sound cute versus like sound like relevant. But for me, like those are like the two things that like matter to me, like being rich and being in good relationships. And so that's such a great example of something that's like sticky to like a particular audience. And so my next question for you is then, what do you think is in 2025?
Mhm.
I noticed that there seems to be a lot of shifts in branding for several reasons. A lot of my clients who are in the DEI space feel like they have to rebrand or shift because of this backlash towards DEI. I hear a lot of folks who maybe used to sell luxury type of stuff feeling like their clients are pulling back on discretionary spending and feeling like that might be a challenge for branding. And then, of course, like, this is not meant to be a political conversation, but a lot of people are just like really tired and burnt out, like in the US, by
Yeah.
like the political machine here. And so a lot of my clients have told me personally that they feel like they're competing against like the news cycle.
Yeah.
So, what is a tip for any of those situations that you might have that might be unique on pivoting or rebranding?
Yeah.
If you already have an established brand, but you're feeling like you're going against some of the tides right now.
That is such a powerful question. I'm glad you went there actually, because this is something that I'm really feel like I want to speak up of, and I have been speaking up on, is like having the solid brand allows you to show up and be confident despite the circumstances in the world. And I'm sure you teach that too, is like money is all around us in all situations. And there's real things that we're dealing with, right? So similarly, another favorite client of mine, similar to you, she's a first generation Filipino. She has her whole business is based around business coaching in the DEI space. We just recently had the same conversation of, okay, what do we do? The thing is, I think this is temporary. I don't, we've come too far to just go so far back. And I think we as a people, this is my personal thought process. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And my hope is that this is showing how bad it actually is, and that it never actually went away from, especially like 2020 and like everything that's been happening, without getting into all the details of what, being mindful of time.
We're feeling it. We're all feeling
yes.
it. Yeah.
And I'm saying this as a white woman, so it's just there. So I feel like it's coming back. So I don't feel like going away from it. Yes, the government's not supporting it, but I feel like there's a lot of companies that are still very much wanting to integrate it and wanting to keep it up, and their employees are speaking back. So that's number one, is maybe you don't 100% lead with that, but I wouldn't completely pivot because it will be back. That's my humble opinion. That to address the number one thing. And then the second piece is, what do we do in times like these? And all I can say is play the long game. We have to sit down. Not everybody's actually meant to be entrepreneurs. So there are some people that I've seen going back into corporate and things like that. But for those of us who are here and we're like, that's why I talk about making your message a movement, right? Like, we're here, we are the ones who can create change during this time. You're doing such important work with money, right? So many people have money mindset issues and are like in debt. Like, all of my clients, that's how I can be a change, by helping people make their message as a movement. And so by playing the long game and doing what you need to do in the meantime, and then going back to what you just said about relationships, is like, when we come together and support each other, we rise up together. And I do think we're leaning into some maybe troubled times for a little bit. And it's been like this. The world goes up and down. And I really feel like those of us who stick with it, we're going to come out even stronger on the other side. And there's going to be more millionaires made during this time than ever if we stick with it.
I love a couple of things that you said. The first thing is, I've been quoted saying this before in the past, where it's like, when people are trying to bring you down, that's where you double down. As in, oh, think that DEI should exist, then those probably were never your clients to begin with anyway.
Exactly.
And that's just showing even more the reason why we need you. So rather than saying, oh, I need to shift and not say DEI or not say whatever, it's just like, if that's really what your business is, then double down and
100%.
you'll resonate more with the folks that actually are looking for you and are worried that you're going to go away. I love that you said that. I love that you said playing the long game here. I honestly, I don't know. You can tell I'm like tired today where I'm just like, I get a lot of people. I just came back from another conference and a lot of people who I met just blew up in the last year, as in they went viral a couple of times and now they have 100,000 followers and they think they have a brand. But just having followers doesn't make it a brand if you're not making money. I have come across many of folks who on social media, they have the pretty pictures, they have all this other stuff, and behind the scenes, they're not making any money.
Yes. And then you have people like me who I'm social media optional. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on any of the platforms except for LinkedIn. And I have a very high 6-figure business. It's a very interesting way to look at things. I think the vanity metrics are there, and I strived for them for a long time. And I was like, this isn't even worth my time. Like, I'm here to be behind the scenes helping other people make their message a movement. And sometimes that includes social media, but you don't even need it, is the thing. 100% agree with what you're saying.
Let's go to this topic for a second, because you just said the magical words that I think a lot of people need to hear, myself included. What do you mean by social media optional? As a brand expert, I have never heard a brand expert say you can be social media optional.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
So this has been huge for me the last year. I've been talking about it. So I have a 9 grid on Instagram. I don't go on Instagram, and mostly for my mental health, because scrolling it can take my energetics down in 2 seconds. And so
100%.
when we talk about playing the long game, I've made the decision to just be like, not going to play that game. So I've been really focusing on like JV partnerships, relationships, and other strategies to build, and LinkedIn, because there's not as much drama there, to build my brand. It's not to say, that's why like there's some people are like social media, and I'm like, it's social media optional. Some people love Instagram. Some people love TikTok. Some people love YouTube, right? So I'm not saying one way it's like a fits all. We need to give ourselves permission to not play that game, and we can still make a ton of money, because I've been there, I've done that. I have clients who've been there and done it. And if you have a solid brand, people see that you're an expert. They see what you're saying. They see it. They don't care how many followers. I don't have a ton of followers, but I have a really loyal following in my email list and on my LinkedIn. And that's what really matters. And I have a really solid network. So it's all about who you know. And I think that's how business has always been done, is like who you know in the background. And that's why we see so many influencers that have a ton of followers, like you're saying, but they're broke. And it's sad to witness, to be honest.
Yes, I think I just found my nugget here of like this. I think this video will literally be called like social media optional and how you get rich without the algorithm. So then my other thing that I just loved you saying here is, hold on, that's branding expert telling me I don't have to be on the channels. Whoa, that's a novel concept. Is when we talk about building like a profitable business here in 2025 with the, here's what I'll say. This can be controversial. I at all do not agree with anything that's happening with our current administration federally. But there is a brand. People know what the brand is, which is chaos.
Yes.
It's chaos. Right? So whether we, and I hate to say it, but Trump in particular has been very good at cultivating a brand. So how do you, and I'm asking this specifically, asking for a friend, really for myself, but also for many of my clients, because most of my clients are female, is you see these other brands that are not jiving with your alignment, like with where you are, what you do, or whatever, but you see them winning. Or it feels like they're winning.
Right.
Right? Because they're getting the attention. They're just getting the attention. On the point of getting people away from the vanity metrics and getting away from being like stuck to the algorithm and sacrificing your mental health risk. I'm saying this specifically.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying this is because I've had multiple clients that I've had literally to tell them as part of their business plan to shut their freaking phones off and stop looking at that stuff.
Yes.
And focus on growing your business. Talk to your clients. And I had to say to one of my clients, true story, this past week of just, they're like, but this is an environment, but this, it was always like, every sentence they said was in this current environment. And I said to this client, I said, there is no time in history that has been completely stable.
Exactly.
Like, this is really no different. It might feel louder right now because the character that's like leading the charge right now is just very visible. But you don't think we've had nonsense like this going on before? It just wasn't so
like
loud.
threat of nuclear war, and there's always been something in the past. Yes.
That's right. So for you as a business coach, how are you helping your clients like filter out the noise, and what are you having them focus on instead, like specifically in 2025? So if there was a, because I see a lot of folks again who are like in 20 in my space in personal finance, everyone was on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube because personal finance content was blowing up in 2021. That's where a lot of millionaires were made in personal finance.
Yeah.
Because the stock market was going up. It was like the perfect conditions. And everybody was stuck at home.
So
everyone
true.
who gave out crappy investing advice did really well in 2021 and 2020, and then 2022 saw all of their earnings tank because the stock market went down, and because people were going back to the office, and because they realized that they didn't have any good advice to give you in a recessionary period.
Yeah.
Right. So what specific tangible tips do you have for folks in 2025 who are getting distracted by this noise, and what should they focus on instead when it comes to building their brand?
Yeah. Oh, that's so huge. So before I share the tips, I'll just say I agree with you with everything you said about what's happening in our world right now. And again, it may sound trite, and I am an optimist in a lot of ways. So I think sometimes it gets better. I think this is a wake-up call to be like, okay, we need to like band together and change this stuff. And honestly, I know you got me a little fired up because I'm like, oh, like this is a little out there, but I also feel like it's like the patriarchy. It's the last like lashes of we're going to try everything we can to control, especially because your audience is mostly female. I think the opportunity is for us like playing that long game, rising up, like we are the next leaders, right? You and I are already in leadership in a way, and as is many people listening, but I think it's just this huge opportunity, and it feels so heavy right now. We can feel the energetics. And so that's like the first tip that I would have. Yeah, get off the socials as much as possible. I do not have any of it on my phone, which is crazy. And I'll go on and then I'd be like, I have to download Instagram and I'll do something. And then I find myself getting stuck back in. And then I'm like, nope, delete again. Like I admit I am not perfect at it. It is so hard. But every time since I've been off it for a while, when I go back on, I can immediately sense my energy shift. And this sounds like you've probably heard people say this before, but like having a really strong like morning practice, whatever that looks like for you, because everybody's different. And it doesn't mean get up at 5:30 and take 5 hours or anything, but like you have to get grounded. So whether it's meditation or breath work or something, and I didn't do that for a long time. I worked in corporate, like I'm like a get up, get to work type of person, but just getting reset is like such a huge piece of it for me, at least every day. And I also have a mastermind that I run, and it is more business coaching. And so we share our gratitudes every day. And so a lot of it is just having people around you that are in the same mindset. Because as entrepreneurs, we're already different, right? We're already standing out. Like most people around us have the normal day-to-day jobs. They're stuck on social media. They're in this scarcity place. And so if you want to rise up out of it, you have to surround yourself with people who are like, I'm in it for the long game. I'm not giving up. Yes, you have bad days, but since I've done that, like over this past year, I don't know, there's this sense of peace that like, yes, it may get worse before it gets better. And I wanted one of the people leading the charge and like helping other people come through it. And when you come at it from that mindset of I'm here to serve, I'm here to support, and being a leader in that way, I feel like everything shifts. It turns into more of a responsibility rather than, I don't know if I should show up, which I have those days too. But I just keep reminding myself of that every day of, no, this is a responsibility. And when I look back, I want to be proud of how I showed up and who I supported. And again, I think millionaires were made back then, but there's quiet millionaires that are going to be happening now too.
Oh, I love that. Quiet millionaires. I could talk to you all day. Maybe we'll do a part 2 on this.
I would
Or
love to.
better yet, y'all can go check out the episode where we switch roles on her podcast.
Yes.
And you can catch more of our conversation there. So if people want to learn more about you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so yourlegacybrand.com is the website. And then, like I said, I'm hanging out on LinkedIn these days. I guess search LinkedIn there. And that's really where I put all my content. I also have a podcast, which you will be on soon. That is also called the Your Legacy Brand Podcast.
I love it. Thank you so much, Tiffany. It was such a joy to chat with you today and get your wisdom. And honestly, that felt like a little bit of a therapy session for me today. So thank you.
My
And
pleasure.
and if you like this content, y'all, go ahead and subscribe here and check out crushyourmoneygoals.com for more information and insight on how you can pay off debt, save, and invest for financial freedom. We will see you next time. Bye.